My girlfriend recently surprised me with a handmade 151 booster box. This is not going to be a good tutorial because I don't have any measurements or anything like that, but you can see here that she's printed off the fronts of these Pokemon card packs, and she did this and all of the designs in Procreate. So she's cutting these out and she's making sure that it's only down the middle, because obviously you need both of the sides of the packs to fold over and create the back of the pack. She also left a little bit of a gap at the bottom, and you'll see why later, so make sure you bear that in mind. Now on the back of the design, she's leaving a little bit of a gap between the actual printout, and she's creasing those edges so she can get a nice good fold. As you can see here, she's folding it very nicely. She will then actually go to push those edges down a little bit and make it nice and tight. Now that she's creased those edges, they're going to join together at the back, and she will glue this together because obviously this is going to be the bit that you pull to actually open the pack of cards. You can see that coming together now a little bit, that'll be glued together and then you can pull that open. So simple Pritt stick, nothing excessive here. You can use other types of glue, I think. She said that she's used bookbinding glue a little bit later for some other bits of the pack. But you fold that over, meet the edges together, and that kind of creates that back for you. There you go, even it out, and that is a job well done. There you go, you can see how that now looks when it's all together. You can trim that edge a little bit, which I think she does next actually. There you go, so she'll trim this edge, she'll leave a little bit of a margin obviously, but you want it to be folded nicely against the back, you don't want it to overhang or anything like that. And that is the pack design pretty much done. That's all come together quite nicely now. So the next bit of the mission is to use this bookbinding glue. You can use, again, another type of glue, probably PVA or anything else. And you can just glue the edges here nice and tight. Start with the bottom, obviously, because you want to pop the cards in later. So she has just crimped that edge with a plier, and it creates that nice kind of textured design for you. This is her sticking the ruler in just to make sure that there's no kind of excess glue inside and it's all dried properly. And then you can get your cards together and pop them in the pack, and that's kind of the bulk of the work done. So now that's in there, she's going to repeat the process she just did on the bottom, now on the top. So she'll pop a little bit of glue in there and make sure it's all stuck together quite nicely. And then once again she'll flatten it out and she will use her pliers to create that textured edge, as you can see on the bottom. We will just skip through this one because you don't need to watch that twice, you can get the gist of it. So there we go, that is practically a complete set. So make sure it's all dry, make sure you've got a little bit of a gap between the bottom and the top of the cards as well, so it can dry nicely without the cards actually going to those glued areas. But that's all come together and you can now see how that's all worked. This next bit isn't that great and I do apologise, but it's just a flash through, so make sure you pause the screen so you can see kind of how she's designed the box itself. But the front of it that she's pointing at is to glue down to the top of the box, which she has done there, and that has created the whole box itself. So glue down all of those edges and you're ready to go. She has placed all of these cards into the box. There's 20 packs that she's done there, which must have taken a bloody long time. But look how amazing it looks. It looks so cool. She's done such a great job. Finally, she's pointing at the edges here. You want to glue down the right side, the left side, and the front, just to make sure that there's a real tight edge. And that is the booster box complete. You can see she added a little pull tab at the front, which you can pull to open. But job well done. So hopefully you can piece together something if you want to do this yourself. Make sure to leave a like, maybe drop a subscribe, and hopefully you can do this yourself.